Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Camping with Jersey Joe. Right now we're experiencing in Quartzsite one of the windiest days of the season. Winds are currently sustained at around 19 miles per hour and approaching gusts of 30, and it's going to get even windier than that today. So it's a good day to be indoors. I know it's been a while since I posted a video, uh, but I recently had a medical episode that I want to go over with everybody. And while what happened to me may not happen to everyone, uh, getting prepared and having your medical uh, uh, affairs in order wherever you travel as a full-time RVer is very important, which I found out. I'm presently on Medicare, and while it's been good to me, sometimes setting up an appointment to see a specialist when you're not in an area where they've seen you before uh, is not easy to do. I recently had a issue with my prostate. Uh, 8 days ago, I had to go to the emergency room because I could not urinate. Uh, they placed a catheter uh, to relieve my pressure, and it worked great. But unlike the other two times this occurred to me, um, they wanted me to wear it for 3 days. Well, it wound up being 6 days because I had to return twice more to the emergency room with problems with the catheter. First one was I had some blood clots, and the second one there was just a complete malfunction of the catheter itself. Uh, but I did make some immediate changes to my lifestyle, and so far it's been 4 days now since the catheter's been removed, and I have not had any issues. So what did I change? As most of you know, I am on the carnivore diet, but I wasn't religious with it. I still have lost over 80 pounds, eliminated the majority of my meds, but I recently had to start taking medicine again for my prostate problem. Well, since then done a little bit more research, and I'm rededicating myself to the carnivore lifestyle because I have found out that there's a possibility it can straighten out my uh, swollen prostate problems by living that lifestyle continuously. I've stopped all caffeine. I was even a Pepsi Zero fiend, and I think that's what did me in because there were some days I would do 6 cans while religiously sticking to carnivore. Then there were some days I would cheat off the carnivore diet, but the only person I was cheating was myself. Now it's only been a little over a week, but I've gone right back on it. I feel great. Stopping the caffeine, I haven't missed a beat. I'm one of those people that can go to caffeine-free coffee, and I did not affect me at all. The soda, maybe I missed it for the first day. Now I'm drinking plenty of water, green tea to help with my prostate, and an occasional can of carbonated water if I want to have that fizzy feeling. So what am I going to do? Well, I am fortunate that I'm here in Quartzsite because not only is it just a beautiful place to be, but about an hour and a half south of us is a Mexican town called Los Algodones, which has been pretty much dedicated to Americans coming across the border for for most medical needs, not all. You can get eyeglasses there. They have maybe a few hundred dentists out there that can help you out, as well as many pharmacies where you can get prescription drugs down there without a prescription, bring them back across the border as long as they're not narcotic. So that helped out a lot. So I'm presently on two medications for my prostate. I'm on silodosin, 5 milligram. Take that in the morning. I can also switch that out with tamsulosin, which is available in Mexico. And recently, the doctors have put me back on the hospital put me back on finasteride 5 milligram, and I need to go get a supply of those because I have don't have access to a urologist here. Because when I made a phone call back in October when I came here, I had to wait 8 months for an appointment, and you can't do that. So I will be leaving here in about 5 weeks, and or less than 5 weeks, actually 4 weeks, and will be making my way to my new destination. I'll announce that a little later. It's going to be a metropolitan area where I'm going to have access to doctors for myself and my dogs to get their shots and their annual physicals done. Um, but I have great hope that the carnivore lifestyle is going to correct it, but it's up to me to religiously stay on it. Um, and there are four types of carnivore diet. You have the strict carnivore, classic carnivore, which is what I plan on doing, animal-based carnivore, and keto carnivore. On classic carnivore, I include all meats and seafood, hard cheeses, eggs, heavy cream, coffee, and tea, as well as plenty of water. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I have been doing it now for the last 8 days religiously. And you just can't help but feel good when you do this. I'm also down to one meal a day, which I have been one meal a day now for well over a year. So it's a good thing. Another thing that this diet helps me to do is anybody that full times on the road. There are problems that affect us that will not hit anybody that lives in a home, full time. One thing is to have your financial affairs in order, have access to your funds, which I do through the Navy Federal Credit Union. Um, Also medical. I am on Medicare, and it's been great. You don't have to have a home base, so to speak, like you would if you had private insurance. But the problem of getting in to see a specialist, well, that is an issue. So, what can I do? Live my best life and try to stay as healthy as I can, and have plans. Well, one of my plans is, as I mentioned Los Algodones before, I can come here and stock up on medicines, and they're very inexpensive out there. So even if you had a medical plan that pays 100% of your medication, you may not have access to a doctor to get a prescription. So for Los Algodones, that helps me greatly. Next thing, diet, uh, which I've addressed by recommitting myself to the carnivore lifestyle, and planning. Thank God I was here, which even though it is in the middle of the desert, there is a small town that's right here, a few miles away, and there are no medical services there. Just one clinic. Parker has a hospital, and that's about 45 minutes away from here. But Blythe, California is a 20-minute drive, and that's where I've been for the last week. I made 3 trips there, and I have to make one more trip to get a prescription from the Rite Aid out there. And I knew that going in because I was here last year. So, but there are sometimes you're traveling on the road, and maybe, for example, I don't want to travel where I have to go in the middle of 100 miles and not near anybody. That's not me. But there are some people that want to RV full time, and they want to do that. Well, then you have to plan ahead for the worst. Uh, so you have your medical, which is important, whether you have insurance or not. If you don't have insurance, then you have to know when you're traveling somewhere where to go get your problems taken care of. And if you do have insurance, and I'm not talking about Medicaid, but regular insurance, you have to look and investigate what limitations they have on out-of-network doctor visits. Um, so this is all important, especially if you travel alone. Especially if you, like me, you travel with a couple of pups. My first worry this week when I had all these issues was not me, but what about my pups? And they're both adopted, and they're both. It takes them a while to get used to someone because they were both abused. So it's not like I can give somebody the combination to get into my rig. I don't want anybody to get bit either, or have to dress like they're a gladiator when they come in here to try to get my dogs to take them for a walk. And that's a lot to ask of somebody. So for me, I was very worried about that. I did talk with my sister this week, and she told me that if I ever need her to come, because the dogs know her, that she will be able to help me out. And I'm fortunate to have that, but some of you don't. But plan ahead. Um, I cannot emphasize that more. Financially, medically, and also mentally. And what do I mean by mentally? I'm in a beautiful place. I love it. Yes, I do. Uh, but some of the lifestyle out here is kind of rustic, and everybody feels they got to, hike on a mountain, and that's not me. So I've been doing a lot of soul searching. What do I want to do? Well, the first thing I thought of was to volunteer at a federal campground. A lot of federal campgrounds will take hosts and give them a free spot with hookups for the duration of whatever time you commit to. I happen to love Army Corps of Engineers campgrounds. They're very spacious, they're very well kept, and I was even offered a position at one in an eastern state where I was going to be on a lake, uh, communicating to the patrons coming in what the rules were, and I'm like, wow, how bad could that be? Looking at water all for the entire summer when I'm here in the desert in the wintertime. But I did select something else, which I will announce later uh, in a future video. But going back to what happened to me, um, you have to think about it. Now, some people come out here, they don't have a choice or enter this lifestyle through circumstances not their own, living in cars, leaving abusive relationships. I get that. And it's not as easy for some people as it is for others to take care of what they need to do. But you do need at least to have a plan. Now, as far as major part of that is having communication. Okay, I have Starlink, which is not currently connected because it uses a lot of power. I'm probably going to have to upgrade to the new dish. I also have a Wi-Fi that I now have connected, and right now, thanks to T-Mobile, I do have right now an automatic. It's a beta trial I got entered into, but if I ever drive through an area or and am camping in an area where there is no cell service, I'm automatically going to be connected to SpaceX Starlink for communication. Right now, it's strictly text messaging. They're going to be adding voice and internet connectivity in the future, and it'll be seamless. So if I'm driving and I want to use my Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden there's no towers nearby or reception is bad, I'll automatically be connected to uh, the satellite service. And that's going to be an additional, I believe, $15 or so on the T-Mobile plan, but that's something that's worth it to have. So this way you're not stuck out there, making a wrong turn, getting stuck, or having a health issue. For example, here at Q Camp, there's not that many of us here right now, but we have a standing rule. Sometimes, you cannot say you need help. So we just tell people just hit the button on your remotes for your trucks or your cars, and have the alarm go off, and it will be there in seconds. So it's important to have things like that uh, handled. And I found out this week that I was fortunate that I had friends here that could help out, and also that I had already pre-planned where I was going to go if I had a medical issue. And I'm fortunate that way. At the same time, I've had to make choices in my life, and believe it or not, the caffeine never affected me. The soda that hurt a little bit, but I'm getting used to it now, and life is good. So I just want to let everybody know, if you're doing this full time, plan ahead, uh, especially if you're on your own out there. Let somebody know where you're going to be at, if you can, or try to go somewhere and camp where maybe you're not 50 to 100 100 miles away from civilization. Some people like to do that. For example, you go travel to Yuma from here when I go to Los Algodones, and it's about 100 miles. But halfway through, you're 50 miles away from either direction. And it's all mountain range. It's all BLM land, federal land, and a couple of military bases. And I've seen people boondocking out there, camping out there, and they may love it, but your phone doesn't work. You can't get a 911 response. Meanwhile, if you're 10 miles, say, south of Quartzsite, and there's nobody near you, you still have services you can summon if you have a problem. That's what I mean by planning ahead. Uh, and that just involves some common sense also. Even my friends that are living in homes, we're getting older. You know, most of you know I was a caregiver for both my parents. I enabled them to die in their home because they could not be placed together in a nursing home without having to pay, because they both had separate medical issues. And Medicare does not cover that, because they know there are caregivers like us willing to take care of our family. But if we dumped them all tomorrow, they would be in trouble. But that's anyway. That's something else. But so I was living in the house in Orlando, and over the 7 years I was a caregiver. Uh, had support from my sister, nobody else. Along the way, uh, lost all my friends, and if I had stayed there, yeah, I would have been in the metropolitan area, but I would have been staring at the four walls, because everything that I knew was gone. And then I started falling in love with this lifestyle, watching YouTube. So um, I cannot emphasize it more, and I know I'm rambling, but this is the first video I've had in a while. But my friends, take care of yourself. Some of us have no one, and that we have to take care of each other more. Now, even though I'm out here in the desert, I've got more people that I can trust to help me out than I had back in Orlando, in a fairly big metropolitan area. So it's not so much where you're at, it's how you decide to live your life and who you surround yourself with. But take care of yourself financially, medically, mentally. As I said a few minutes ago, if I'd have stayed in Orlando, I'd have been in an empty house looking at four walls, and I would have been miserable. Not to mention, it would have just made my anxiety that manifested itself as a caregiver get even worse. Here, I'm loving the life, and I did spend this this winter, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the future. And I just gave you a little tease of it, but I will mention what my definite plans are very shortly. So I'm sorry I'm rambling. It's the first video back in a while. Very rusty. Um, but one other thing I did want to say. Quartzsite, the desert, blah 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 blah. A lot of people don't like it. I love it. Not to mention, when everybody had your bad weather this winter, I kept checking every day. Even Florida had snow. Even on our worst cool day here in Quartzsite, we still had the best temperatures in the country without having to go to San Diego, where you can't even afford to buy a newspaper. So, anyway, my friends, I thank you for listening and putting up with my rambling. I promise I will get better with the videos. And everybody, have a great day, and thanks for listening to Camping with Jersey Joe.